A lot of people before watching this video go to a nursery and you buy a tree and you're excited about it because you've spent time figuring out the one that you want. Then you get home and you plant it and you remember all sorts of things about it. And then you find some more trees and you plant them, and then you find some more trees and you plant them. And next thing you know, you have like 80 trees and plants in your orchard, and you don't remember what in the world it was that you planted, and you certainly don't remember when you planted it or any details about it. So in this video, we're going to walk through a few options you have in terms of labeling your trees so that way you can come out and always know what you've got planted, when you planted it, and some like key details about it. Let's get busy. Well, this is Cameron. Welcome back to the Busy Gardener channel. So when you buy a plant from the nursery, they've got all sorts of really great information on it generally. Like this ghost apple that I got to replace one that is failing over there. It has this tag which has some helpful info on the back of it, some planting seasons. It tells me it's an early season apple. And then here on the tags, it has some specific stuff. It talks about the type of tree that it is, ghost apple. It talks about the chilling requirement, that it's low chill. And also this little pink tag here, Dave Wilson Nursery puts what type of rootstock it's been added to. And each rootstock that it gets grafted to has certain characteristics that help it to do well in certain types of soil or certain types of environments or whatever. Some are dwarfing rootstocks. So this is helpful information. But a lot of times these break off after a couple of years, or they fade, or kid grabs one and they come off. I've got some options in this video I want to walk through in terms of how you can label and keep track of your trees, so that way a couple of years later you're not thinking, yeah, what was that one? I know it throws off a peach, but I don't really know much about it besides that. Or I don't even know what tree this is. Let's see what it spits out this season. One of the easier ways that I've found to do this sort of thing, keep track of these trees, and this is the one that I would probably suggest for most people. It's the easiest, it's the fastest, and it's by far the cheapest. And that is to use these little metal or aluminum tags. These little metal aluminum tags come in packs of like 50 or 100. I'm going to link to those down below. And the nice thing about these things is that you are able to take and using just a ballpoint pen, you're able to write onto that, and it impresses into this aluminum exactly what you wrote. So for example, on this Asian pear, I can tell here that this is an Asian pear, Shinseki pear, planted in 2015 on the rootstock Butifolia. Butifolia? Did I spell that even right? But you notice that I've done that on each of these trees. What I've then also been able to do is attach it with this little aluminum tag, and I took the original nursery tag, the little Dave Wilson nursery tag. So this option I think works best for most people. I'm going to walk through a couple of ways to do this, as well as some things you need to be careful of when you're using this method. Okay, the one that I'm using is Impresso tags, and I got this a few years ago. How many came in this thing? Does it tell me? It says thousands of uses. I guess it does. You can identify all sorts of things with it, but this has worked really well for, 100 tags came in this one. I don't have 100 plants. But what it came with are two different things. Here are these little, what do you call these? Just little wires. And then the tags themselves are kind of unique in that it's just this strip of aluminum. The inside of this has a strip of cardboard in there. And the cardboard makes it so that when you indent on this with a ballpoint pen, you're able to, it creates an indentation. It's got somewhere for this metal to go and to form. And so you're going to write on here with a ballpoint pen, and you're not doing it so that the ink stays on there, but you're using it so that the indentation stays on there, because that's what's going to remain season after season. Even after this cardboard disappears, the rest of this is going to stay intact and isn't going to come apart. And then after you do that, you just take this wire, stick it through one side, bring it back through the other, and now you've got something that you can just take onto a branch. You take and twist this on, and now you've got something that hangs, a little hanging tag. So those tags make it really obvious when you're looking. You can immediately see the blue tags jumping out, and that makes these things really easy to spot on these Asian pear and on those nectarines that we just saw a minute ago. Looks like I need to create one for this cherry here. Okay, so I brought over our lap-ins along with the rootstock, And I'm going to write that down on this thing. And in this case, I want to first write what type of plant it is. Again, the thing that I'm aiming for is not worrying about the ink, I'm worried about the indentation. Okay, that got planted this last year in 2020. And the rootstock is what they're calling Maxima 14 Maxima. This is the brand new one that I just created. And this is the one that was on the tree. You can see what it looks like with all of the ink gone. But you see that it's totally legible. And this is 5 years later. This has been sitting on the ground, this Lapins one. And so this is a wonderful option for people to keep track of their trees. Okay, so all we're doing right here is we're just gonna come and twist this with plenty of room. Don't make it tight, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. All you do is you just twist the end of this and allow it to hang from here. Now I'll come through here with some of that flagging tape and attach a blue strip to it, but I don't think it's gonna get lost in the canopy of this tree this season. So I've got a little bit of time to do that. There is a downside to using this method to tag your trees. I'm gonna show you on my Mini Royal and Royal Lee what happens and why this is gonna take a little bit of attention from you. Let's go over there. Okay, so as we just saw on that Lapins cherry, you start out with a very loose thing just hanging there, but what happens is that as the tree grows and matures, you end up seeing this situation, which is it's called girdling, where you see that the string or the wire has kind of digging into the bark of this tree. And even right now, I could tell as I run my finger over it that this is creating an indentation. This can cause some serious issues. This can scratch into the tree. All of this cambium layer up here is where the nutrients of the tree go. They all are going right up near the edge of the bark. So constricting it can cause some trouble upstream of this. So something I want to do is come through. I'm going to have to probably cut this one off. This one here was definitely caught in time. And so all I did was come and put this, I just untied it and then was able to put it on a more loose branch. So it just hangs there. So I mentioned that this was the most simple and easy version, most inexpensive version that you could use to tag your trees. I think this is the way to go for most people, but sometimes you want it to look really nice. Have you been to those types of arboretums or outdoor, I don't even know what you call them, big just gardens where they've got those beautiful stands that have like the little engraved placard on there? You can go that route. If you really like the tree and you really want to go through that expense, you can get those little placard holders that are, 2, 3, 4, whatever height you want. And they're little holders for engraved metal plates. And so that's an option that you could have as well, if that's the route you're going. That's probably the most expensive way to do it. A middle range, a middle option between going this kind of hanging from your tree tag to that super engraved one is kind of a middle range thing where it essentially is a stake that goes into the ground, and held in between it is really one of these things, just like a hand engraving thing. This hand tagging thing is suspended in between. And then you could put that down at the base of your tree, and then you'll have a little thing coming up in front of the tree letting you know what it is. So if you don't want to worry about the girdling that I showed you a minute ago, or you don't want to worry about the expense of going some other way, having something that still looks nice that isn't in the tree but is on the ground is also an option. So you've got a few options available to you. 3 ways you can label your trees fairly easily in order to keep track of what in the world it is that you're doing up here and in your orchard. And so that way when you go back and look, you're not scratching your head wondering, what was that thing again? Yeah, you've got those labels, you've got the tall stakes with the engraved things, and you've got kind of that in-between option where you're able to just handwrite it and have it put in the ground. Hey, so I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Busy Gardener where we looked at those things. If you've got any questions, what other solutions have you got? How are you labeling your trees? What do you think that I missed in this episode that we ought to include and let people know about? Sure appreciate you tuning in. Hey, and whether you've got 1 tree to label in your orchard or 500, till next time, stay busy.